What is going on, investors? Back again. A rare Friday earnings announcements from a major company. And this kind of kicks off our next wave of earnings reports. Nike is one of the first ones to kind of report. And in a couple weeks into January, we'll have all the stocks that we like to cover here on the channel. Nike is one of my favorite stocks, one of my most favorite brands. This stock has just been on a rocket ship, up about 39% this year. It just reported earnings after the bell. We'll jump into the numbers and we'll jump over the stock chart. Spoiler alert, this one's on an elevator shaft upwards. I want to just show this, not to flex, but more to motivate you. I'm a holder of Nike since 2016, got in originally at $63. I bought it several times. What I wanted to show you here was I started buying Nike back in January of 2016, so about almost 5 years ago now, and I kept buying it. Bought a little bit more now. Whenever you see this zero, this was like a dividend, but I bought about 11 shares here. This was 7 months after 8 months after I originally bought it. I bought more here, and then look, even a year later, I bought it again. So I started buying it at 63, then I bought it at 56, 55, and then 50. And I've been holding it ever since, have not sold it ever since. And you can see here, my gain is just a light 139% in 6 years. That's $2,119 in terms of total gain on that one. So Nike came in with earnings after the bell. We know this stock is on just an absolute tear. There's not a lot we can see here with the stock chart. So what I wanted to show you really quickly is just from a valuation perspective. I got Lululemon here is in blue. I've got VF Corp, which actually just bought the brand Supreme, which I thought was a great acquisition for them. They got it at a really good price too. That could be another video for another time, but that's VF Corp here trading about a 3.8 to sales. I'm looking at price to sales because earnings just got obliterated this year with these companies, okay, with a lot of retail stores being closed. I don't need to tell you this, but Lulu's trading at 12 times sales, VF Corp 3.8 times sales, Under Armour, which has been on under a lot of duress, doesn't have a lot of earnings, trades at 1.75 sales. Ralph Lauren threw them in here at 1.58 sales. Nike does trade at a premium to all those brands minus Lululemon. They're trading at 5.87 per sales. We see it's normally been under 5. In fact, it's been in that 3 range for a very, very long time. It has accelerated just recently. So that's just something that you want to keep in mind. Now, shares are up in the after hours, probably on incredibly late volume, considering it's a Friday and we're heading into a holiday shortened week next week. Nike's up 2% on China strength, and direct sales grew 32%. We'll see evidence when we jump into the numbers here. We've got the 3 months ended here, 19 over 20, and when they give us a 6-month view here, we were up 9% over last year. It just showed you how well Nike has recovered over, because we were seeing massive declines. I remember doing Q1, Q2 of Nike, and their sales were declining. Now the stock chart sure the heck didn't really care about that, but the revenues back up. For the last 6 months, we're up 4%. So we've got a gross profit here up about 7% year over year on a quarterly basis, and about 2% on a 6-month basis. So we've got a demand creation expense down 7. This is marketing, this is endorsement, things like that. Well, you'd expect this to be down because a lot of athletic events are closed or not being played still to this day. And so it threw up their marketing budget a little bit. And so that's good. You still are able to grow revenues at 9% when you spend about 17% less on marketing. We have other overhead expenses here, and then we've got selling general administrative expenses. So here's all your expenses right here with a Nike in terms of percentage of a revenue. They actually went down to about 30% of sales. And we see here for the 6 months, same thing kind of holds true. So interesting quarter. We came down here to the net income. We were at 1.1 billion. We ticked up just slightly, about 12%, just slightly. 12% is actually pretty good. To 1.25 billion. We're up 12% for the 6 months from we'll call that 2.5 up to 2.77 billion. So all things being considered, Nike's had a strong last 6 months or so. They've really put things together very well. It's a company that does pay a very small dividend, about $1 $1.10. And you see here, that's a 0.78 yield, under 1%, but they have plenty of room to grow. I think they grew at like 10 or 11% last year. And you can imagine this is the power of dividend reinvesting here is I'm in this stock for way less. So my dividend yield's actually pretty high, $1.10, considering where I got Nike I'm actually getting a pretty strong yield on this one if you factor in my cost basis. So again, buy and hold these types of stock. It is a decent strategy. Now, the only thing from the balance sheet that I want to show you is this long-term debt did tick up 172%. We went from 3.5 up to 9.5. This is year over year, but our cash, they're holding a fair significant amount that in cash, because you see here we went from about 3.5 billion in cash up to that's well over 11. So they're just kind of parking that cash that they got here in terms of debt. They took on some debt probably because they weren't really certain with what was going to happen, and they basically add that to the asset side. So we'll see what happens with Nike. What are they going to do with all this cash? They got it probably at an incredibly low interest rate. Are they going to make acquisitions? Are they going to just invest in more athletes and advertising? We'll see what happens, but they're flush with cash at this company. So we'll see what they decide to do with it. Now, they do break everything out here, and you can see the North America segment, total revenues for the North America segment basically flat for the last 6 months and 3 months. I'll tell you what, I consider that a win considering what's been going on over the last 9-12 months here in the United States. You see here, Europe, Middle East, and Africa actually up really strong. So really nice growth that we're seeing here for the 6 months and the 3 months. China back on that choo-choo train. Boy, the reason why you don't see LeBron James or any of these Nike athletes ever say a bad thing about China, because they would get fired really quickly, because take a look at the growth that you're seeing here. See, in North America, we are basically flat on Nike. Europe, Middle East, Africa, doing pretty darn good. I tell you what, China, 24% growth, 19 excluding currency. Hello, that's phenomenal in the quarter. So this was an absolutely phenomenal quarter. You see Latin America basically flat. So, there's a reason why, I'm not saying I agree with it, but there's a reason why none of these Nike athletes ever say anything bad about China. And that is because you're seeing just a walloping growth in that country. So moving on to the stock chart, this thing's just been on a rocket ship. And so there's a dilemma for people like me. I love Nike. I'm in it already. It probably would be a wise thing to maybe buy some more at some point. I'm probably slightly overweight. This is a portfolio with about 40 or 50,000, and I've got 3,600 in Nike. Not necessarily saying that I'm not giving allocation advice at the current moment, but it's worked out. Any pullback to this trend line? I've put up a trend line in here since the March lows. You can wiggle this thing around. I don't know where you want to put it. You can also do an upward channel too. I think I had one of those on here as well. It just got deleted, but we're kind of in this channel, and any move back to the bottom of this channel has been a buy. I'm not saying that's going to continue. Whether or not, I probably wouldn't step into this one. I hate to even throw out these price targets, because people always say I'm absolutely insane, but right there is where I would be really excited to get Nike. Where's that? 105. The stock's at 143 right now. In fact, it's at the top of this, what I would consider the top of this channel. Now, this things might not be in here perfectly. That might be a little better. But yeah, we're basically right at the top, back to the top of the channel. Anytime we've come to the top of this channel, the stock has sold off to the bottom of the channel. I'd wait till we get some kind of pullback in this one if you can. But the momentum behind sports and just in general, and also that China print was fantastic on this one. So whether or not you get a deep pullback in this one, I don't know. If you did get a deep pullback for whatever reason back to 105, I probably would come in here and buy this one. But Nike's been on a choo-choo train. If you're like me and you've been holding it, you're getting paid a little bit to hold it. And boy, this one's been a phenomenal performer over the last couple years, but especially this year as well. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Have a great weekend. We'll be back again soon. Good luck with your investments.